Hey Aria, what are we looking at today?
The big white one, LVX, and Freakout.
Freak out, I like that. All right.
Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin. I'm a gear nerd, guitarist, and producer, but more importantly, I'm a husband to Jen and dad to two amazing kids, Aria and Jacob. We're setting out on a quest together to build a home studio where both adult and kid musicians can create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at that gear and ask,
What's this button do?
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host, Dustin. This week we are going to be taking another dive at the Palen Pedal Pickin challenge. Aria has picked out some doozies for us this week. It's going to be a blast. Something happened during the pickout phase that has never happened before, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. For those who don't know, watch some of the previous episodes, and I'll go into more detail about the Palen Pedal Pickin challenge at the end of this video. But essentially, my daughter picks out a few pedals. I turn them all on and try to make them sound good together, and it's just a good way to find new inspiration and have some fun and create sounds with the gear you already have that maybe you never would have thought to put together before. So today, when I was getting ready for this episode, I looked over to Aria and I said, "Hey Aria, will you go to my pedal drawer and pick out a few pedals so that I can set everything up?" And so she looked on my desk, and last week I had talked about JFX, and she saw the Empyrean that was sitting on my desk, and she grabbed that and she's like, "Ooh, let's do this one." I said, "Oh, great. Okay, we haven't talked about that on the show before." And then she grabbed the Digitech Freakout, which is one of my favorites. I cannot wait to show you that. But then she looked at me and she said something she's never said when we picked out these things. She said, "Dad, why don't you pick one out?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I thought about it, I was like, "No, that's not really in the spirit of the game. Like, the idea is you pick all three of them out." And so we decided on a compromise. I went ahead and picked out a pedal. And I picked out the Meris LXM, which is one of my favorite delay slash reverb pedals on the market. It is gorgeous. I could spend 6 hours on a video trying to show you all the sounds that you can get out of that thing, but I will tell you, it is 500 delay pedals and reverb pedals in one. It is one of the best bangs for your buck. I know it's a pricey pedal, but boy, it's worth every penny of it. It is gorgeous, and you're going to see some of those sounds in a few minutes. But in order to keep with the challenge, I told Aria it has a bunch of banks on it, and there's 3 presets per bank. So I said, I want you to give me a bank, and we will only use the 3 presets that are on that bank. So she flipped through, and she actually picked bank number 1. So we are only going to be able to use the 3 presets that come on bank number 1. We can tweak them. I asked her if it was okay if I tweak the knobs, and she said that's fine. So we'll tweak the knobs a little bit, but we're going to try to stay true to it, and we'll keep it in the first 3 presets, and we have to make those sound good with the other 2 pedals. So before we jump into that, though, I wanted to show you today's guitar to do a little highlight on a company that I haven't really talked about much on the show, but I think deserves a little recognition. There is a company based out of Nashville right now. They actually started down in Austin, Texas, and it's a company called Taya Guitars. Now, Taya was started by a guitarist named Taya, who's an amazing flamenco guitarist and just rock guitarist in general. If you ever get a chance, go onto YouTube, check out his work. It's fantastic. But Taya created a company, and he was a student of Zemaitis. He loved to look at Zemaitis' guitars, and if you've never seen those before, he was notorious for doing a lot of tops of guitars that were covered in perloid and abalone and turquoise, different metals, all sorts of different things. He would do tile inlays on guitars that were just stunning. And then he was also a master engraver. And so sometimes he would do these metal plates to cover the guitars that would be hand engraved with different sayings and different art and just beautiful. Well, Taya studied to be a master engraver and actually would do these special engraved plates that were just absolutely stunning. And he created a guitar called the Coyote, and that was my first introduction to him. I bought a Coyote years ago, and it was kind of his take on the Les Paul, a beautiful guitar. But he also had a little special knob that would go and change your tone basically to almost a single coil tone using 2 humbuckers, and would give you a wide range of different sounds from your guitar. And over the years, it was known as the Mood knob and the Mojo knob. He changed the name as he made improvements to the knob. But several years in, I had gotten a chance to meet them. He had actually moved from Austin to Nashville. And now, unfortunately, the company's kind of going through some rough changes. They had an amazing Finnish artist named Kelly that did this finish called Shipwreck. I'm going to show you in just a second. She has since left the company, and so has Seth, their main technician. So the company's going through some changes right now. It's a little rough. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But at the time, they had moved to Nashville, and in between that Austin and Nashville move, the stuff that they were putting out was absolutely amazing. Taya had created a kind of a flying V take called the Gypsy Arrow. A lot of his themes were Romani based. And I had reached out to him and I said, Taya, I love this. And when I do a custom guitar, I like to theme it about things that I love. So I'm a huge book reader and a huge pop culture fan. So most of my custom guitars have some kind of theme to them, usually literary inspired. And my favorite book of all time is a book called Don Quixote. And for those who have not read it, oh my Lord, you have to read it or at least listen to the book on tape. Pick up any chapter of Don Quixote. And it's a long book, don't get me wrong, it's long. But it's the oldest work of fiction that we have today. And Don Quixote, if you read any chapter, you will swear you've read it before, even though you've never picked up the book, because almost every movie today, every sitcom, some jokes and some things that happen in those shows came ripped from the pages of Don Quixote. It inspired so much of today's fiction. It is hilarious when you read the book to understand how much comedic writers take from Don Quixote, which is a book written in the 1600s. It is crazy. Anyways, enough about that. Sorry, side rant for Don Quixote, but I love Don Quixote. So did Taya. So he agreed to make me a Gypsy Arrow that was inspired by Don Quixote. So I wanted to share that with you today because that's what we're going to be playing through. And I wanted you to see some of the work of this close up. So when you look at the actual finish on here, you can see everything's hand engraved. So even the headstock, these are all custom knobs made for it. The Touareg finish on the neck, which is just a killer inlay. And then I'll kind of hold this up in the light. You can see the Don Quixote, with the wrong way, illustrations that he hand etched into there. And you can see the Carina wood behind it. That is Kelly's work. She called it the Shipwreck finish. But you can see she stains it so that it brings out all of those grain lines that are in the Carina wood. It's absolutely stunning. And then you can see the sword with the Don Quixote etched onto there. This is one of my favorite guitars of all time. Unfortunately, Gibson had issued them a cease and desist. They settled it amicably, but they're no longer allowed to make the Gypsy Arrow shape because it was too close to the Flying V. So that was unfortunate. I'm glad I got mine before that happened. But it has been a staple of whenever I play rock. This is pretty much the guitar I go to. So I thought it'd be fun today, especially since we're going to be messing with a distortion/drive pedal. Thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. So we're going to use that today. Let's hop over to the pedal board, play around with it, and see what kind of sounds we can make. I'll meet you over there. All right, let's get into this. So today we're going to start off with the JFX Empyrean, and this is like the John Frusciante super pedal. And to really describe what this is, it is super insane. What you've got is over here, these 5 knobs in this switch are a germanium fuzz face. Then you've got a fuzz right that's one of Frusciante's favorites, voiced like his. So these 2 controls control the fuzz right. You've got a Big Muff Pi circuit over here. You have got a preamp from the old Boss CE1, which is the same preamp we looked at last week when we were doing the JFX JF1 chorus. So this also comes with that preamp included. And then I've got to look up real quick. I can't remember what the other boost was based on. I think it was a micro amp. Yeah, the other is based on an old micro amp. So this has a ton of tones in it. Very similar, though, to the JF1. I've got the boost off here. I'm going to let you hear the clean tone of the guitar. And I'm not doing anything special with the controls on here. We're going to use the bridge pickup. And we may switch to the neck. I'll show you the neck. And what's really cool about Taya's guitars, so that's the neck, but it actually has a 5-way control. This is the middle. And the back. And then the bridge. So we'll use the bridge today for the most part. I may switch to the neck every now and then. We'll just see what happens. But we're going to start off and we're going to walk through each one of these settings. But just like the JF1, there is an always on part of this. So right now I've got this plugged into my looper. And you'll notice I've got a lot more chords than normal. What I decided to do today, since I use a wet, dry, wet rig, we're going to take advantage of that with the LVX. So what I've done is I've got a loop with the Empyrean and the Freakout in, and it's affecting all 3 amps. The LVX I just have going into the left and right channel so that you'll still be able to hear some of the clean. I think that'll really let you see what the LVX is doing and shining through. So we've got it set up in 2 loops, but they're all going to be working together today. So we're going to start off with the Empyrean. I'm going to start off with the Fuzz Factory side because for those who have never tried a ZVEX Fuzz Factory, it is one of the most wild sounding fuzzes. Probably the most famous use of it is Matt Bellamy from Muse. He loves the Fuzz Factory, and a lot of the cool stuff from like Plug-in Baby and some of their songs, you will hear that fuzzy, wild, kind of crazy, over-the-top sound. And we'll mess around with this a little bit. So when I turn it on, I've got to engage the loop here. I've got it set up kind of mild right now, but... Now this is with a mild drive. Let's turn the drive up a little bit. Turn the compression up a little bit. Now your gate is probably one of the most important things because this, without the gate on, you can hear how much noise the gate is taking out of here. So I like to keep the gate up on this. Otherwise, you are over flooded with wild, loud sounds. And then I want you to hear, like, with this turned up just a little bit and the stab turned up a little. You can hear that gets it a little bit fuzzier, a little bit crunchier, and especially as long as you've got the gate up, you're pretty safe to do this. Now, I will say, the thing that Jordan did on this that is amazing is this is the tamest Fuzz Factory sound I have ever heard. I like that it's dialed in a little bit tighter. The germanium, whatever he used in there, it really is super tight and does not get too out of control. And the gate works extremely, extremely well. Where some Fuzz Factories that I've got, I have 3 or 4 different versions. They can get very wild, very hairy, and very hard to tame. This is tameable. It can still get out of control if you let it, but you can really control it. And that stab knob especially, like, you can get some nice sounds. Really Velcro-y. And if you turn the gate up more, you can see it gates most of that noise out of there. But if you turn these down just a little bit, that gate will be super controllable. So if you palm mute, you're really getting almost no background noise. Cool. Now, I did mention one thing at the beginning. I forgot to kind of talk about this. This level control is much like the level control that was on the JF1 chorus. So this is unity gain. If we go up further, it's like a preamp. All the way up. But unlike the JF1, the thing that I love about this is it also has a bypass switch. So you can completely bypass that. If you don't want to have it affecting your signal all the time, you don't have to. That is a huge addition. The other beautiful thing that I love is he also added send and returns for effects loops. So if you want to put, like, say, a delay in between the Big Muff Pi and the boost, you can do that. You can actually use these sends and returns to send out and then come back in, so you can add other effects in between the effects that are on here, which is super handy. Again, if you're building a fly rig trying to travel around, that's a great way to do it. Now, I've already shown you the tamed version of the Fuzz Factory that I think is amazing. Now, the other pedal that I typically hate is an old Mosrite fuzz. I love the sound, but they were very hard to control and they never sounded quite right. What he's done here is also give you that. And this depth knob is everything here. Watch what happens. You can hear when you chord how spongy that gets when you play a full chord, but by bringing the depth back a little bit, it adds a little bit of more bass to it, to the frequency range, but it also just gives you a little bit better control. It brings it forward a little bit more the farther back the depth is, which is just really cool. And then here we can really control the volume. So we'll leave that right about there. Now the Big Muff Pi, one of my favorite Big Muffs of all time. This has been on everything. You've heard me talk about Big Muff Pis before, so I'm not going to go too depth into detail. It's nothing fancy here, just your standard volume sustain tone knobs. The old wall of sound fuzz. This was on every 90s album. Bonus if you know where that riff's from. This is truly just one of the best fuzzes that are out there. So I love the voicing that they've done with this. The cool thing about a Big Muff Pi, you can really control it. I'm going to roll the volume knob back on my guitar. See, it goes from being really fuzzy to almost overdrive. So your guitar volume knob works wonders when you combine that with a Big Muff Pi. I still love to set the sustain up a little higher, but you can see how much more clear that tone can be. You still get some fuzziness. But if you don't have a noise gate and you want to just kind of keep that extra, buzzy sound out of the background, you can if you tone the sustain down a little bit. If you crank the tone all the way up, and then verses all the way down. So you can hear there's a lot of variety there. I like to, when you're soloing, I like to have the tone up a lot so you can really cut through the mix. For typical work, though, I'll keep it right about there, and I'll turn the sustain down just a little bit so that you're not getting too fuzzy. You get kind of a, 90s metal kind of sound to it. It's really, really thick and nice. And then over here, the boost again, kind of like the JF1. And this works in coordination with the actual preamp on there.
Forget the fuzzes, just the drive section alone from these two drives stacking on top of each other, you can do some amazing work just from that. I mean, even this by itself. Versus the clean zone. See, you can hear just gorgeous. So we'll play with this. I'm going to leave the settings kind of where we've got them at right now. I may turn this back just a little bit and this back a little bit for the start, and then we'll mess with that. The next up is the Digitech Freakout. Now, this is a very simple pedal that makes some of the most beautiful noise I have ever heard in my life. It's very simple. So you have a momentary on and off. So all that affects is the switch. Because I don't have it on the floor, I've got it just set to hold. So when I press the button, it turns it on. When I press the button, it turns it off. Normally, I would actually have this set to momentary where I could hold it down and cause the frequency to happen. But because I don't want to reach over every time I play a note, I don't want to do that right now. So it's very simple. And then you can also kill the dry signal, or you can have your dry signal also mixed in. I hardly ever kill the dry. I like to have the dry signal on this. But what the Freakout does is it takes a note and it creates feedback, kind of like you were holding the guitar in front of your speakers. Now, this can make for some of the most obnoxious noise in the world, or it can be some of the most beautiful melodic things that you've ever heard. It's all about how you use it. With an EBO or a sustainer system, this actually can go even beyond what a normal sustain would do. But there's several different modes on here. Now, you've got your gain on here, and then you've got the kind of the way that it attacks it up top. There's this little dual knob, so the gain level is up here by the most. So the more we dial this down, like you get very little feedback there. We dial this up, the more feedback will come through, and the louder that feedback will be. Then over here is your kind of how fast it attacks the note. So it goes super fast there. When we turn it up, it slowly fades into that. I like to have this up a little bit so that you let that feedback build over time. Now, my favorite mode is this natural, but I want to walk through all the different modes here so you can hear the different types of feedback, because this does have a lot of different types of feedback it can offer. I'll just play a little harmonic. And we'll kind of click through these. I love that. Sorry if I blow your eardrums out there. These natural lows are really nice because it's that undertone. And it responds to the vibrato on your fingers. So if you do a pull off, did you notice there? Let me actually, I'm going to do a high frequency here. We'll do a pull off and I'll let you see what that sounds like. You can kind of hear how it will change the tone down. And if we're doing one of these. Hear that just kind of change when I pull off. So very cool. It's very fun. But this really responds well when you have a little bit of gain behind it. I'll just boost a little bit here and just show you a little bit with just a little drive. Let's gain it a little bit more. Oh, just realized I had the bypass on there. And you can see if we slow this up. Hear how it almost goes to the gain too fast? That's why I like to have this little slower attack so that you have time to build up to that gain. It's almost a little too slow. We want it to attack just a little faster. That's about right. We'll turn down just a little bit. Okay, let's leave that alone. And now we're going to go through the first 3 presets of the LVX. Like I said, we can only use these 3. So there is way more to the LVX than meets the eye. We will do more episodes on this in the future. I'm probably going to try some more of these pedal picking challenges where I let her pick a different bank. But we're going to start with the top 3. So the first one is called Magnetic Shift, and this is based on an old magnetic delay. Now, remember I told you before, I have the clean amp in here. I want you to hear, I'm going to take the clean amp out. Okay, so see, that's just dry. Now I'm going to bring in my clean amp. See how that fills out the frequency spectrum? Take it out. You lose some of that deepness. Now I bring it back in. That's the beauty of a wet, dry, wet rig, when you still have the unaffected dry signal coming through there. You get some of that bassier sound. Now let's hear, that's the magnetic. Now let's hear the Poly 3. Let's try modding it just a little bit. We're going to turn the mix up a little. We're going to turn the feedback up a little. Okay, now let's check out 3. 3 is cinema mode. Let's listen to this. Oh, wow. I haven't messed with this mode much. This is... Turn down the mix just a little. All right, that is beautiful. Get a little more feedback, see what happens. That's kind of crazy with the time. I love that you can actually hear it speeding up and slowing down. Okay, gonna say, I have not even really messed with cinema mode. That might be the coolest sound I've ever heard come out of this pedal, and that is a preset, not even one of the ones that I've made. So I am already blown away.
lesson learned here, mess with presets more when you first get them. Don't assume because they're presets they're bad. I say we stay in that. I like that preset. Let's do it. Let's turn them all on. And we're going to start with the drive sections here. And then we'll find a sound, maybe try to get a lead sound that we really like here, all right? Let's mess with it, all right? I'll try it now. See, I think we need to mix down just a little, gain down on this just a little. Well, this sounds like the sad moment in every 80's movie. Our hero just found out his wife left him. Okay, all right. Let's not get too comfortable here. So let's turn the drive down. Let's turn this gain down a little bit. We don't want to kill anybody here. There we go. That's a little bit better. That's almost getting saxophony. I'll turn the tone down on my guitar. Go up to the neck. Hear the freak out as it starts to take effect and what that does to those repeats in the delay. That is wicked. Let's go back to the neck. Oh man, I love that. All right, let's try it with the pie and see what happens. Give it a little more tone since we're in a lead tone. I absolutely love it. All right, last little bit here. Let's turn all of them on and see if we can make it work. This is going to be noisy. This is, I think, my favorite, just kind of really give it a rock tone. Okay, all right, one last these two on. What that Freakout did there, it kind of followed my fingers as we were sliding. That was really wild. It kind of gave that wild octave up. That is such a cool thing. Yeah, for a lead to get that kind of like 80s rock lead sound, that is just killer. I could see that being used in so many ways. Yep, that's awesome. Oh man, remember the old 80s movies like Lost Boys? That sound right there was literally that rock ballad playing with the, like, you know, pad behind it. That slow rock sound. Oh man, that totally screamed 80s to me. I love that. That was super fun. That cinema mode, oh my gosh, that thing, I think that's without any tweaking even. Like, I think with a little bit of dialing in, that is going to be a go-to as a pad for so many cool things, depending on the rate that you use. Wow, that was absolutely amazing. But to me, the star of the show was the Empyrean. That, all those different drive sections together, you know, I would have, even in a pedal picking challenge, I wouldn't have thought to combine the Moss Right fuzz, a Pi, and a Fuzz Factory. Would have never even crossed my mind to put those together, but it's crazy how they do play off of each other. And the treble side of one will give that extra oomph to the bass side of another. It just, wow. Absolutely blown away. And the Freakout, I mean, that, yes, it is in a way a one-trick pony, but it can be used in a lot of different ways, but it still does achieve the same effect. But man, it just really lets you do kind of that live sound that you can usually would only be able to capture in a room with somebody. You can bring that across on the record. Just really, really cool for a recording tool, but also for live to create some feedback, especially now, since a lot of us aren't playing on big stages with, you know, a half stack behind you. Some of you are running silent stages. Some of you who are doing church gigs, you know, you may not even have cabinets on stage, and it may be all in-ear monitors. So the stage may be dead quiet. The Freakout allows you to get that, you know, nice feedback sound, so it feels more like you're live and standing in front of that speaker. So you can use that to your advantage too, real subtly, to just give you that nice sound. So make sure to take advantage of that too. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week. Again, for those who have never played along with the Palen Pedal Pickin Challenge, we'd love to have you join us. All you need to do is just have a friend, family, somebody who doesn't even into music or guitars. Pick out a few of your pedals, have them throw them on a table for you, and let them pick the order, and then you just try to make a fun sound using all the pedals at once and see if it inspires you to create something new, try something new. Just get out of your comfort zone and have some fun. And if you do make a fun sound, take a little video of it, throw it up on Instagram, Facebook, email me. I don't care. Anyway, we want to see what you're doing out there, and we'd love to see your success stories. So please send those our way. We'll be sharing some in future episodes. Next couple weeks are going to be a little chaotic. Next week, I'll be going live from Palen Music in Kansas City. We'll be doing a few different things. If things go right, we're hoping the Two Rock Joey Landreth shows up, so we can do a little demo of that. We're also hoping for something else new coming down the line from a pedal company that we think you guys are going to enjoy. So we'll be doing a little demo of that here pretty soon as well. So watch for some fun things in the coming weeks, and then we'll be back a few weeks later with some Palen Pedal Pickin challenges and of some of that gear and maybe a few crazy things mixed in. So we look forward to seeing you all. Thank you so much for coming out today. Take care, and we'll see you soon.